G'day Bomber fans, if you know me, you know I love the draft, and the mid-season draft is coming up later this month. This one really creeps up on you, and we do have a spot available on our list because of Jaden Hunter and his bung knee. A bit of a cruel irony there, the player we picked up last year in the mid-season draft is the reason we get another list spot the year after. Today I'm going to name a few guys that we could potentially be looking at, and now I should say the mid-season draft is near impossible to predict. I could name about 50 players and still not highlight the guy we end up selecting. It's even tougher with a club like Essendon who usually throw out some left field choices, but I figured I'd give it a go, and also I won't be talking about the stars of the crop likely to go early, like Jack Hutchison for example. Today it's all about the guys we could potentially grab because we're going to be higher up the order, seeing as we're higher up the ladder. And also, if any of these stats and facts are a little outdated, it's because I'm recording this video on the Friday, releasing it a few days later, so I'm missing out a whole round of footy here, but it shouldn't change too much in the grand scheme of things. Alrighty, so before I start naming players, I'm just going to quickly highlight the positions we may be looking for. It's tough to know, that's why I've listed a range of different guys, but I'll look at the positions we're poorest in. I'd say our key defensive stocks are worn pretty thin right now, but could improve once Ridley and Reed return from injury. I think our small forward brigade is hit and miss, so if a good mosquito fleet operator is available, that could be ideal. And we do usually try and get younger players rather than ready-made options. In recent years, we've been very successful at grabbing good young options as well. Will Snelling was third in our best and fairest. Menzies is a best 22 player at his best. Massimo D'Ambrosio was decent, just not given enough opportunities. And Sam Durham is one of our best players now, so I'm really excited for this. Dodoro is usually very good at getting the right players. Let's look at a few that have caught my eye. Alrighty, starting with a guy that we are apparently keen on according to afl.com.au. This isn't me throwing his name out for the sake of it. We apparently have an eye on Campbell Hustwaite. He was a guy that was on Collingwood's radar at the start of the year. He was training with them for a bit for a list spot, but ended up losing out to Jack Bytel. Hustwaite is a big-bodied midfielder, not tall, but very solid and strong, meaning he is ready-made. He has leadership qualities. He was Collingwood's co-captain in the VFL last year. He isn't young. He's turning 24 this year. He would bring serious grunt and power inside the contest though, which is good. He's very hard-working and a great tackler. He's the type of player to not do anything too flashy, just get the job done. Gets in and under. I'd be worried about his tank and how well he plays in an AFL system because he has that typical VFL footy body and mindset, I think. Tougher games, less skilled, more about grit than anything in the VFL. He'd be handy in a wet game, but a fast-moving footy doesn't suit him, so I doubt we pick him up. And if we do, we only really use him for depth, I would say. Not really an area we need, to be honest, either. So he's currently injured at the moment, which might not help his case. I am going to really quick highlight a key forward. Now, I highly doubt we end up selecting one, seeing as it's a position that we're strong in right now, but just because the guy we have on the long-term injury list is a tall forward, I will talk about another one just in case we decide to go for like, which, again, I doubt we do. But Corey Tragenza is a guy who's impressed many in the last year or so. He's a similar age to Jaden Hunter, also from WA as well. He's kicked 8 goals in his 4 waffle games this year, 21 years of age, good size, good height. He was stiff not to get drafted back in 2021 or 2022 in the rookie draft. He was insane at Colts level, kicked almost 30 from 12 games, and he's been steadily building in the waffle reserves for Peel Thunder. He's played 5 league games in his career in the Waffle Seniors, and in every single one of those games he's kicked 2 goals, so he's very consistent. But again, I doubt we pick him or another key forward up. I just have him down here for the sake of the video. Now, looking at a position we may need, it depends how players return, but you look at our injury list, Ridley, Reed, Baldwin, Hayes is still very raw in the VFL and can't play out a full year, so it could be a good time to develop another key defender maybe. I'm going to list a ready-made option too in a later video, but Cooper Trembath is a strong key back who has been very impressive lately. He's been a constant feature in the Young Guns team as we lead into the mid-season draft. That's the team you want to be on if you're a young player wanting to be picked up in the mid-season draft. He is currently 18. He missed out on the draft last year, but his form in the Talent League has been great. He kind of looks like a Ridley and Laverde hybrid defender. His IQ is good, he intercepts well, but he's also pretty strong in his hips and probably not far off senior footy just in physical terms. He's bigger than Hayes, not saying he's anywhere near his talent. It's hard to say where he sits. He probably have a lot of work to do when he comes in, but as key defenders go, he's probably the premium youngster as we head into the mid-season draft. So if you wanted another young one to develop alongside Hayes, Trembath would probably be the player to get. We obviously have a few general defenders reaching the end of the road, so if we were to go after a young guy to join Luman Lawal in the reserves, I think Ryan Brodie from the Calder Cannons wouldn't be a horrible shout. The Calder Cannons are the team that our academy boys play through, so he'd probably have built a connection with a few of the guys that we could hopefully see in the red and black next year in Isaac Kako and Jaden Ewan. Brodie is a defender who is just about to turn in 19. He missed out on the last draft, but has responded well in the Talent League, winning plenty of the ball off halfback and even earning a call-up for the Young Guns squad. He's very raw, not AFL ready as of yet, more of a project player like Lual. In the next video, I'll highlight a more ready-made general defensive option for you guys. Alright, so there are apparently a few clubs interested in former North Melbourne livewire forward Phoenix Spencer. He was delisted last year after a few unsuccessful AFL seasons. He played 12 games, didn't really do too much. He now plays for Footscray over in the VFL and has kicked 6 goals in 3 games, I think. He recently played in the exhibition game for Footscray against the Young Guns. Now, this is a game really for the mid-season draft. The Young Guns team is made up of mid-season draft hopefuls, and they go up against VFL sides in Footscray. But many there had their eyes on Phoenix Spencer for Footscray and were impressed with his work rate. He's very exciting, hard to argue with that. We saw very few glimpses in his short AFL career, but the glimpses were good. He was also shifted around the ground a lot, which didn't help him. But if drafted to Essendon, he would be used primarily as a small forward, which is where I think his best footy would come from. We do need pressure forward of the ball. We will see if the return of Guelphy would put these issues to rest or not. Keep in mind, we do still have Jaden Davey waiting in the wings as well, but as of right now, you would be brave to suggest Davey's current output would be greater than Spicer's. We have lots of small forwards, but no real star power outside of Gresham. I think it's whether or not Spicer can take that next level that will decide his future. He's still young, only 22. Alrighty, now a few boys that we're already familiar with, our VFL Bombers, starting with co-captain Jackson Haitley, who has been one of our very best since coming across from the Adelaide Crows. He was a high draft pick, delisted last year, and you can just tell he is an AFL level ready player running around in the reserves. He is a class above, tall midfielder, really great gut runner. He can be used in a number of different roles. He's currently the 3rd leading ball winner in the comp, or he was at the time at filming. He recently announced himself to the list managers when he kicked 3 goals from 27 touches against Footscray. I think he could potentially be picked up even by a club that isn't Essendon. I look at Quinton Narkle last year, who was taken by Port. I think Haitley has more to offer than Narkle did at the time. He's still only 23, very fit, very mature for his age now too, as shown by his leadership in the reserves. I like him a lot. I hope he stays in the red and black, whether it's in the reserves or AFL, we will see. But someone like him deserves to be given another opportunity in the big time, and because of his versatility, you can see him playing in a number of different roles. Alright, now I did talk about Phoenix Spicer, but if we wanted a younger small forward option close to home, we could select Oskar Smartt, who has been one of the better general forwards in the VFL this year, or the most promising for his age, and his good form was rewarded when he was selected to play in the Young Guns team that faced up to Footscray. It came off the back of a reasonably fair 1-goal game start to the year, but he really exploded against Footscray, ironically, for Essendon, kicking 4 against them, and I think he then kicked 2 or 3 against them in the Young Guns game. So it means he's played them twice this year. He's a good overhead mark for a guy who's only 180 centimetres tall, but I just don't know if we select a young small forward when we already have a bunch in our AFL system. I think if we grab Smart, it means we have plans to delist one or more of the guys currently on our list, and I doubt we are thinking that far ahead right now. And finally, I've tried to find some common themes amongst fans and their criticism of the team, and I've noticed a lot of us at times talk about leg speed, so I've put down Jack Peris from our VFL team. He is unbelievably quick, one of the quickest in the VFL. He would be one of the quickest in the AFL as well. He came over from St Kilda after an unsuccessful AFL journey, and he's been good for us so far. You can see his closing speed and his run as a highlight for our whole team at times. He can play on a wing or up forward. He's a really fun player to watch. Another who is by no means past his expiry date. He turned 20 last December, so there's plenty of good footy left in him, and if he joined us, I reckon he would be right in the mix with Nick Hind for a 100-metre sprint, and definitely has more upside than Hind does as well, who used to play for our VFL team. I see a lot of similarities, actually. I remember watching Hind in the VFL thinking you could play AFL, and now he was a bit older at the time, but I feel like we could be saying the same thing about Peris soon. That is that. Those were a few mid-season draft options. Again, it's impossible to know what we're going to do. I don't think I've ever correctly predicted a mid-season draftee. Most teams keep their cards close to their chest, so we won't know until May 27th or whatever the date is. Thank you for watching, though. I will have another one of these videos out in a week or two. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, and as always, go Bombers.